Welcome to the Quick Stop F1 podcast. My name is Nasha and you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. We appreciate that. Joining me, as ever, is my co-host and co-founder, looking so splendid. She got the chain, she got the merch, got the earrings. Oh, bling bling. Tandy Sabanda. How's it going?
Hi.
Hi.
Happy Monday.
Happy.
It's so nice to be back.
You look radiant, Monday. I must say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking at this lighting and I'm thinking, does my makeup look crazy?
No.
But it's too late to turn back now.
No, you look great though. Don't worry about that. That's absolutely fine. And we've got a guest today.
Yay.
Do you know what I mean?
Like, this is one of those guests that I'm always really quite excited to have him on. Because every time anyone's asking me, I'm like, yeah, I'm excited for this guest.
Yeah, 100%.
Long running guest.
Long running guest. I was actually saying to someone, I think you might have been our first international guest. And what an international guest we have. Everyone, welcome to the show. Our favorite Oscar winner and producer. It is only man like Trayvon Freeve cheering.
What up, guys? Thanks for having me back.
Can you hear that cheering? Did I miss that up?
No, I thought we were making it up.
Oh right, no, I'm pressing the cheering button, but no cheering is coming out. So we're supposed to pretend that the cheering
Trayvon,
is.
I'll give you
go. Yeah, there you go.
I'll give you a
Just do it in post, like Hollywood. Do it in post.
Trayvon?
Yeah, how's it going?
Everything is great, man. Thanks for having me back. Well, everything except for the Mercedes F1 season, but things are great. Things are good.
That's a splendid top you have on, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's very, very nice, fine piece of clothing that I procured for the day. Little Quick Stop F1 merch.
On,
yeah,
man.
Everybody wearing Quick Stop F1 merch. Say, ew.
Don't. There you go.
Gunshots work. But
no, don't worry. I've got the applause back. Don't worry. Trayvon! Yay! There you go. See, not just violence, but also happiness and cheering on the show. But look, guys, it's not just about Trayvon, it's not about Tandy, it's not about me, it's about you at home. So, if you're watching this, make sure you're giving this a like and a subscribe. If you're listening, make sure to give us a 5-star review on Spotify. We're trying to get to 500. Thanks for everyone that has been giving us a review, and make sure to do an Apple Podcast review as well. It helps us spread the gospel of Quick Stop. And the further this goes, the further we go. The further we go, more cool shit for you. So, it just makes sense. Support the brand. Trayvon!
Did you rehearse that?
I didn't, but
Did you rehearse
I just feel... No! I'm trying...
That was really
I'm trying to get, like, a gig on one of Trayvon's next things. So I'm trying to show him, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I can do some lines, improv, whatever. Trayvon, so you said, I guess... When we spoke to you, it was at the end of last season for our New Year kind of special. And I guess there was hope that although the W13 was bad, that the W14 would be an improvement, and this would be an incredible season for Mercedes as they fight back through the field. So with the knowledge that you have now, 3 months later, how are you finding this season?
More depressing than ever, to be honest. It's unbelievably depressing, and I don't it feels like that part of the movie where like the two people have split up, the two stars have split up, and they got to find their way back together to fight that third act climax of the movie and be victorious. But man, this is a dark night of the soul, man, and it's so sad to I mean it feels so bad that like I found myself wondering, did did like Lewis lose like a curse to like some shaman that he met that we didn't know about, and that he didn't fulfill his side of the obligation, and
I
his
thought
whole
that too.
world.
I started thinking that too. I was thinking, surely this is now a thing where it's a curse. It's a curse, and we're just
It's
on
a
the bad
curse,
end of
right?
it.
It
Yeah,
feels so
we're
much like a
just
curse. I mean,
please, Lewis, return
when
Madame Medusa's coins before midnight.
right, did he like take a sacred rock from one of his trips during the off season from from somewhere in Africa or so, like any of these places that he went? Because I'm like, what happened? Like,
Yeah.
how did like someone who's been so just like the combination of preparedness and opportunity that creates your luck was so high for him for so long, and to see the tide turn in such a drastic way, like, to me, the biggest nail in the coffin of believing like, okay, there must be some type of like energetic curse going on, was fucking Alonso gets a fast car of all people. Like, of all people, like, if you're talking about the Lewis Hamilton saga of storied enemies, you're like, okay, Red Bull versus Mercedes, fine. We're gonna play Lewis versus Max for as long as we can, and then all of a sudden, this motherfucker gets a fast car with the same engine and the same parts. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I got to imagine like it is killing him
Yeah.
to privately, at least, to see Alonso get a fast car with the same parts. You're like,
It's crazy.
what is going on, man?
It's
like
crazy.
that to me was like the most depressing thing to see. Now he not only has to fight his current Darth Vader, but like this other old fucking Sith Lord showed up that he had beaten a long time ago. Like,
It's
this movie's
like
crazy, bro. I
could
couldn't even write this. It's the most insane.
It's like the opposite
the most
of the
insane
Avengers. It's like the Revengers, where like just loads of enemies
Right,
linking
it's
up
so
against one person to defeat them.
He's got the FIA, Alonso, Red Bull. Like, Jesus,
Awful.
he can't win, bro. He can't win. And like Mercedes is just botching it, man. Just botching it. And you can't. It's hard to even have faith in the team at this point. Like, it's hard to have faith in the team. Like, when they're like, "Oh, we used the wrong data," and like, you're like, "What is going on over there, guys? Like, what is going on?
What is going on, Tandy?
And I feel like for now, the content creators, the content creators are openly Team Mercedes, Team Lewis Hamilton. We are now just kind of like a support group. Like, we get guests on this week. Trayvon. Hi, Trayvon. My name's Trayvon, and I'm going through the Lewis Hamilton story. Hi, Trayvon. And we all just collectively come here and we cry. Things have got to change.
Oh, so Tandy, that's a strong statement. I guess within that, Toto this week has kind of said pretty clearly on a number of occasions, we're changing the concept of the car now. I don't care if it looks like a Red Bull, we'll stick a Mercedes sticker on it. I guess, how do you feel about that? I guess a lot of people are quite mad that it's a year on, we went for a year, and like Trayvon said, they were data gathering for a year, and then they looked in their data gathering bag and was like, oh, this is the completely wrong data. So I guess, do you have a sense of sympathy for the team for what's happened, or are you not happy with the team? And
I don't have I'm afraid I don't have sympathy for the team. I have sympathy for the fans because the script could have been written so perfectly last year. This is not a thing that started this season. It's something that started last year. And for that reason, it could have been solved last year, but we're still ongoing. You've literally had a massive winter break. We have a big budget. Like, where are we when it's down to this? Like, where are we?
We're in the shitter, mate. It's actually, it's ridiculous. I don't know what's happened. I guess Trayvon,
These are the same people who designed the W11, which is like, I'm like, where did those brains go?
Like
what
whoever
is?
you need to rehire, if it's the coffee lady, was she doing something different to the one that's there now? We need to really look internally. This cannot continue to happen.
Well,
I mean, you know what's
it's happening.
fascinating though is what's fascinating to me is you already understand that like Adrian Newey is a genius and like he is an insane secret weapon for Red Bull, and I would argue that he is the reason they've gotten where they are right now, even in all of their overspending and cheating glory. And you look at the fact that some of his people went to Aston Martin, and then Aston Martin got fast, and you're like, oh, he understands the mechanics of this in a way that is not like a fluke, or not like James, or not like Adrian has all the secrets and the people who work for me just do my bidding. They went to another place and made a car fast with his saying. I mean, even what's the owner of Red Bull's name again? Marco.
Helmut Marko.
Yeah, even his comment about it looks like those guys have long memories. Or about what was going on at Red Bull to make their. You like, it's clearly something in the Adrian Newey factory that understands these cars in a way that other people just don't. And the fact that they could take that and replicate it somewhere else and bring Aston Martin from the midfield to the front of the grid is you need to what more proof do you need, right?
Wow.
Like it's so sad, but you're like, well, maybe all those years Red Bull spent picking off Mercedes employees, you kind of need to go maybe pay back and go pick off some Red Bull employees and figure out what are you missing.
It would be great for us to do that, and that's something that obviously, I think a lot of people have spoken about it. Dan Fellows over at Aston Martin at the moment. Obviously, James Allison, who designed all the good cars, is currently, he's trying to retire. He's designing boats at the moment. He's in his boats and hose era. Obviously, we've just had James Vowles move to Williams. Red Bull poaching 15, 20 employees from Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton said the chef that he has in Monaco doesn't even make the soup anymore. They changed the chef. So, like Andy said, we need to get these people back together. I don't know what bag they need to throw at it, but it's clearly a situation where a loss of brain power and a loss of team personnel seems to have affected Mercedes. Tandy.
But do you know what, though, guys? Do you know what I've been saying this weekend? I was just saying, good thing I am delusional. Like, I think it's nice that I have a sense of delusion to my head, because that really numbs the pain. I do definitely recommend it. Last week, you asked me, like, what we doing post Ride the Glitch. I'm saying, good thing I'm delusional. Good thing I can't read. Oh, there's a red flag. Good thing I'm colorblind. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's what we've got to do.
So describe your delusional state. So obviously everything's going on around you. Mm-hmm. The car's not great. Uh-huh. Lewis isn't happy. Mercedes fans are fighting with each other. How if you're going to advise other people to join you in delusion, what does that look like? Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you want me to say. This is my everyday life.
Okay, fair play. If you want to be like Tandy, you just got to be basically off and with the fairies and not around. So, Trayvon.
Take it easy.
Oh, sorry, you popped out and then came back in there. So I didn't catch that last bit of what you said.
It's okay. I said just take it easy.
Just take it easy, guys. Take it easy. Don't stress yourselves out.
Good thing I'm delusional. Yeah, honestly, when you get sad, when you look at that TV and you're screaming and you're hearing and you're looking at your phone and the admin for Mercedes are saying, "Oh, we didn't quite get it this week," just say, "Do you know what? Good thing I'm delusional."
Nice. I love
honestly,
it.
Honestly, it makes helps you sleep at night.
So we have a race Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, which has been won by Checo Perez in the Red Bull. Max finishing second after starting in 15th place. Trayvon,
Yeah.
you've been quite critical of the new regulations, including the cost cap. So I guess for you, what is it about these regulations that you're not enjoying? And I guess what would be your solution to a more competitive front of the grid?
Well, I mean, I think it's two things, right? You have the FIA saying we made these regulations so that everybody would be more competitive, right? And you're like, okay, well, there is a little more competition in the middle of the field. Like cars are having a lot more fighting going on in the middle of races, but at the front of the grid, you have by far and away one of the largest gaps we've seen, right, in recent years. And then you think back, well, not that long ago, there was a rocket ship called the W11 that was literally smoking people. And what did they do? They immediately made Mercedes change their floor and slowed them down to a pace that Red Bull could actually compete with them. And while even at that time, it felt unfair to like slow a car down versus giving other people ways to try to speed themselves up, right? Don't slow me down. Give them, let them figure out how to catch up, but give them maybe more resources to help them catch up. And now you have the Red Bull being as fast as like Lewis is saying, the fastest car I've ever seen. And they have seemed to have no cares in the world about doing anything about quote unquote making it more competitive, because it's so obvious what this season looks like. It's so obvious what's about to happen over the course of this year. And I don't hear anyone. You remember when Christian Horner was talking about the good of the sport? You got to like slow Mercedes down for the good of the sport, so people actually want to watch. It's weird. He's not brought that up at all since Red Bull's kind of run away with pretty much everything. And so it feels like to me, it's less about making things more competitive and making the cars a little more equal with a cost cap and everything else, but it's more about they finally got the front of the pack car that they want to represent their sport, and they have no plans to do anything about it. I mean, it was clear in 2021 they didn't want Lewis to be the outright sole possessor of the most championships ever, and they did something about that. And now you have this particular situation where they're not even talking about, no one's talking about the good of the sport and how fast Red Bull is and how boring it is to watch. I'm looking at this quote, sorry, in the chat. Predictable serial results and serial winning is difficult for any sport. Well, how does Christian Horner feel about that today? Someone like Matt or like Damon Hill should ask him that question.
Yeah.
You know, like how do you feel about that now? And I would love to hear his very hypocritical answer. But
he's just gonna double back. He's just literally gonna double back on that quote. When was that quote taken? Was that
2015 about Mercedes?
2015.
Yeah, and the thing,
inevitably with predictability, people get turned off, and it needs a rain.
A rejig.
I can't read that. I think it's a. Oh, okay. I see. I'm like, I can't see that. A rejig to bring it closer together. Yeah. I don't think anyone cares about the fact that Red Bull's at the front and Mercedes is struggling. They like the fact that Mercedes is struggling.
Yeah, and I think
I don't.
After you, Tandy, sorry.
Sorry, I was reading the quote. I don't think anyone wants to see Fernando Alonso just taking part. We want to see him competing. So did he write the script then? Is that what we're that you write the script? Nice to see he's got writer's credit. Lovely to hear.
I hope he's getting his.
God, we just keep on covering things.
I hope he's getting his royalties off of this, bro. Do you know what I mean? He needs to check those them credits, bro. PRS coming towards Christian Horner. I think like
I'm coming for you, Rock Nation.
You will crumble,
Rock Nation. You will crumble, Rock
it's
Nation.
not over. Oh man. So let me put it to you guys. I guess Tandy. Some people will say that Mercedes fans are bitter. We experienced, let's say, 2014 to 16 domination. Cars getting lapped. I think there were no cars, or if there were cars lapped this week or last races because McLaren botched the pit stops. I think there was a field spread of around a second or so, just over a second after the Red Bulls in qualifying. So they will say that as a total, the fields are closer together than they were when Mercedes were dominating, and that no one in Mercedes was complaining about boring races and field spread when Mercedes were winning. So why should Red Bull fans, or why should Red Bull care about the good of the sport? I guess, what do you say to that?
Why should they care? I'm gonna be honest. Why should they care?
They shouldn't. No.
If they're winning, they don't give a fuck. So that's what we need. These are the hard to swallow pills of what's going on at the moment. This is what we need. Open the pill, take the pack, drink it with water.
Don't even drink it. Just, you know, when people in films are depressed and they just swallow it, they're like,
and they swallow it. Take that shit back. Whatever you need to do to sleep at night. But I don't think Red Bull fans are sat there thinking, oh God, how do we make it fair for the Team LH fans? No offense. That's just the truth, isn't it?
So I guess also after
I mean, I don't. I mean, I don't. I think it's just as boring if I know every weekend Lewis is going to just run away with the race, right? Like, as a fan who enjoys watching the sport, I enjoyed 2021 because it was competitive, right? Now, when you get into like cheating and like crashing into your opponents on purpose and shit, like that's not cool. And when you have to just demonstrate actual skill to the driver with competitive cars, that's fun to watch. Like turning up every week and knowing like, oh, well, Lewis is a better driver, but it's still like no guarantee he's going to win each race. That's fun to watch. It's not fun to watch as a fan, anybody just turn up and win the race as long as their car's reliable that week. And you know for a fact that car's going to be the front of the grid. That car's going to probably win the race, barring any like catastrophe that happens when the race starts. And so it's, when you get a year like 21, if 21 happened the right way, it would be, it's amazing, right? Like I wouldn't have mind him and Max going hard the way they did. That was so exciting. Every week felt like an event because you didn't necessarily know what was going to happen. Like this doesn't feel that way. I mean, I was bored even when Lewis was dominating every week. It's like, yeah, it's great when it's your team, right? The teams themselves aren't going to complain about being fast, right? Their job is to make a car that does exactly what it's doing, to run away from the field, to get as far away from your opponents as possible. But from a fan perspective, yes, it is boring, or a little more boring when you know, like, yeah, even my guy's going to turn up and run away with it. So it's like, do I really need to watch if I know, like, even if I knew Lewis was driving a car as fast as the Red Bull and the Red Bull was in this current situation, like, I would probably still not necessarily watch as much, but it'd be for different reasons. It's like, yeah, because I know what's going to happen. Like, I don't have to go out of my way to wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. when I know, like, Lewis has got it. I don't got to, like, and for the same reason, I don't got to get up because I know the team that I hate's probably going to win, right? But if I know every week, either one of them can be pole, either one of them can win the race, I want to, like, that's exciting. I want to see that. And so I think there's a level of understanding in that regard that's missing from the conversation when it comes to the teams themselves, and less so. Like, I don't expect Red Bull fans to be anything other than who they are, right? Of course, they're going to want to. They love to see Max run away with it every week, and they probably are less bored of it than. I mean, I see some Red Bull fans talk about being bored of it, like the more quote unquote human ones.
He said it, not us.
That was Trayvon Free at Trayvon.
They know.
If they know who anyone is, they know who you are.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's a sport that can be more exciting in ways outside of trying to give out points for fucking practice, which is idiotic. But I don't think they're interested in that, to be honest. I just don't. I don't think they're interested in it.
It's interesting you say that, because we have a situation where, let's even take away the sport being interested in that. Even Red Bull themselves don't really seem interested in anything other than a Max Verstappen World Championship, based on how they treated Sergio Perez during this race. So obviously Sergio Perez is out front, he's winning, whatever. They're telling him to manage a pace of 1:33.0 per lap. Meanwhile, they're telling Max to do 1:32.6, which would have had Max close up behind him in 10 laps to overtake him, which Checo knew nothing about until he realized, like, hang on, guys, why are you telling me the wrong pace? And then on top of that, they told Checo that Max wasn't going to go for fastest lap, and then what does Max do on the last lap? He puts it full beans and takes the fastest lap at a point where he knew Checo would not be able to retaliate. Tandy?
But we know that Max is an entitled driver.
He is.
That's why he did that.
Oh, no, for sure.
Yeah.
But I guess he's in a position where not only is the sport seemingly favouring his team and him with, how they've treated him in the past and how they favoured his team, but his team also seemed to favour him as well. I guess the situation at Red Bull with Checo and Max, it's obvious. I think with Max said in the post-race interview, he said, clearly this title race is going to be between me and Checo now. I need every point if I'm going to be fighting against him. Do we see? It's Checo against Max and Red Bull, but I feel like, is this? Are we going to see some kind of like bust up this season, like a repeat of the Brazil 22 situation where Max wouldn't, let Checo past or whatever? Do we see that kind of busting up the more that they fight with each other, or is Max just going to run away with it anyway, or Red Bull engineer something to make sure it doesn't happen?
There's no doubt in my mind, if it became between Checo and Max, Red Bull are not doing anything to support Checo winning the title. They just won't do it. I mean,
100%.
They've demonstrated year after year they have no interest in him being anything other than a wingman. And the shitty part for Checo is he is in such a position that he wants to drive. He happens to be in the fastest car on the grid, fastest-ish. His teammates probably a little faster. And coming from the situation he came from before he got to Red Bull, he's seen the other side, right? So it's like now he has to battle what it is to be on a team that he knows is actively keeping him in his place and have no intention of letting him beat Max for the title. And also wanting to stay on the grid and stay on the grid in the car that can compete. And so, like, I would literally give him so much credit if he was the kind of person who would say, fuck you, I'm choosing me over the team when it comes to, trying to support Max and wingman Max if the title's between the two of them. Versus, I'm going to kind of say something, but then I'm going to fall back into my place, and I'm going to occasionally say something again, then I'm going to fall back into my place until the inevitable happens where his car all of a sudden dies in a race where it's competitive or it's close during the season, or the things start to happen, it just starts to feel like, oh, I think they don't necessarily want Checo to be, even if he's capable, they don't want him to do it. I mean, telling him a different time to a time delta to hit, or like 2021 when they gave him like Max's broken wing, you're like, what more do you need to know that this team has no interest in supporting you beyond you supporting Max?
No, it's a crazy situation over there at Red Bull, and it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic, I think, play out over the course of the season. I'm going to quickly because we've got some limited time with you, so I want to get your thoughts on. Let's go with the FIA. We've been speaking about the FIA.
I have a little more time now, by the way, just because my writing directing partner had a business appointment that he forgot about.
God bless that dentist. Okay, so let's go into the race, Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. This season's a bit of a weird one in that there is some good things that are happening, but it's kind of overshadowed by how boring the race at the front is. But unfortunately, with Alonso being as high up as he is now getting podiums. Although that's what we thought when he got he had a 5-second penalty for starting outside of his starting grid slot, in the same way that Esteban Ocon did in Bahrain. He then, when he came into the pit lane to serve that under the safety car, his rear jack was touching the car, which the FIA or the stewards deemed to be working on the car, but they only decided that 30 laps later or something, after the race was done. He's on the podium, he's sprayed champagne, they then take it away from him, hand it to George Russell, who gratefully we know will accept absolutely anything given to him with open arms. I'm surprised it didn't start. And then after that, I think an hour and a half later after that, due to an Aston Martin appeal, they give it back to Fernando. Leaving aside just the absolute shit show that creates and the incompetency around not giving a decision during the race, letting someone go on a podium, then taking it away. But online there have been some strong comparisons to how they managed Abu Dhabi 21. And a lot of people are saying, well, if you're able to reverse this decision so quickly, why aren't you able to reverse this one? I guess, Trayvon, I'll come to you. But Tandy, did you... I guess, yeah. How did you feel about the whole Alonso? That's me preparing to go to America. How was the whole Alonso incident for you? I guess, do you have any, like, did it bring up any feelings for you? Were you just in your delusional world, just not bothering? How was it for you? No, I'm just saying, were you shielding yourself from the fuckery?
I was to be fair, I guess that would be my answer, yeah. I was kind of shielding myself from the fuckery. I'm not about to be the first person to jump in front of a bus for George Russell. That is probably why I wasn't too arsed. After George's, like, obviously we'll get into that later, but in terms of it, like, Alonso, take your place, please, because the guy who we are trying to take the title from is not deserving of it. So, yeah, Alonso, please, go forward, please. The runway's yours. So that's how I felt.
What a sad state of affairs that. The choice was like, George.
Listen, no one wins when the family feuds. Nobody wins when the family feuds, okay? It wasn't an easy decision to make, but
look,
we kicked him out. He's outside.
Kicked him out.
Imagine honestly, just realizing that you've been sleeping with the enemy this whole time, like you've been sleeping with Europe. Jump scare.
Is that where we're at now with George?
We'll get to it when we get to it, innit?
We'll get to that.
We'll get to it.
Trayvon, how did you feel about it? Obviously, FIA incompetent as always. Or are they deliberately doing this to create a show? We just don't know with these guys anymore. But I found like a lot of the pundits being so like up in arms about, you know, the decision to take away Alonso's podium, and, you know, they need to change the rules. You know, people are touching the car during penalties. This needs to be changed. And there seems to be a lot more furore and uproar and all the roars about the Alonso penalty compared to their reaction to Abu Dhabi. I guess, how have you pervaded the F1 landscape as a result of that? And I guess, did you have any like feelings of distrust, or did you feel triggered again? Like, what did it bring up for you?
I mean, it's exactly what Tandy was saying, which is like, it's the same level of, to me, it demonstrates they literally do whatever they want, when they want, and they interpret the rules how they want, when they feel like they want to. And so if you can take away someone's podium and then give it back like an hour later, like to pretend like because it's the championship trophy at the end of a season makes it any different than rightfully giving the rightful owner their championship, then you've clearly told us who you actually really are and what actually matters. You declared there was a human error and all the other shit that went along with that, but the rightful owner was not returned his property based on that finding. But in this case, and then all the pundits that are shouting about it, it's like you almost feel like, oh, all the work the fans did to make you guys pay attention to Abu Dhabi in the way that you should have, now all of a sudden gave you courage to stand up when you think there's an injustice that's happened in the sport. And so it's like, here's Lewis having to be the sacrificial lamb to you guys gaining a fucking spine to stand up for when you think something is wrong. I think the FIA has done something wrong. And it just makes you not only feel worse for Lewis in some ways, but it also just makes you feel like there's no real governing body to this sport. It's just like a king who's just like, today I want this to happen, and today I want that to happen, and tomorrow I might feel differently if that exact same thing happens because of what I had for lunch that day. And so if you're being governed by a body that you can't predict, that supposedly has rules and regulations, but then you still can't predict the interpretation of those rules and regulations, what's the point?
What's the point? Let me tell you right now, I was pervading Twitter yesterday and this morning, and I was pissed off. Like, I was absolutely, you know what, yeah? I said this at Abu Dhabi, I'll say it again. Don't piss on my shoes and tell me it's raining, bruv. Like, these man are taking us for pricks. Like, I actually, like, they're taking us for pricks. I can't believe I'm seeing Will Buxton. I've never seen Will Buxton so animated. This is a disgrace. The FIA need to sort their house out. I've seen Crofty tweet for the first time in about 20 years. I've seen Karun climb out of his little bunker. Oh, the FIA, I can't believe. Where was this energy? Like you say, Trayvon, we had to drag these men out of bed by their singlet and beat them into saying something about Abu Dhabi. But God forbid, Fernando Alonso gets a penalty, rightly or wrongly. But these guys are so up in arms, and it's just like, I'm not going to lie, it makes watching this sport so annoying, because like you're just constantly being gaslit about things that you've gone through, how significant they are, things that Lewis has gone through, how significant or insignificant they are. And it's like, if you say something or if you compare something, oh, get over it, we need to move on, that's another thing. But it's like, we're not even setting precedent with these things. Like you say, Trayvon, it's just like they're just handpicking when they're deciding to do things and when they're deciding. So we're not going to slow the cars down. We're going to keep basic regulations so the gap stays the same. And we're not going to apply any kind of like consistency in how we do things regarding the rules. Even though I've been watching this sport since I was 6, I still don't understand half of the rules. It's a madness, bro. And I am actually like, I think it creates, and I think this is something we see online, this kind of like complete distrust with the sport, right? And it's like, if you can't, apparently, if you take hallucinogenics, you can't trust your eyes. You can't trust what you're seeing, right? And you're like, what am I seeing? And I feel like I've taken the strongest acid because I don't know what I'm seeing anymore. I can't trust my own eyes. I can't trust my own brains. That's not from personal experience. So I just think, that's where I am with it. And we'll see what happens from race to race to race to race. But I don't know. Am I going over the top? I had to get that out. This is therapy right now.
I mean, at some point, if you let the sport become this kind of spectacle of uninterpretation and unpredictability, you're basically becoming wrestling, right?
Yeah. You're
becoming the WWE because the results end up being what you want them to be on that particular night, right? And if someone gives you a reason or gives you an out to do something different, then you just take it. And so if they're not going to apply rules correctly or stick to a consistent way of applying them, then nothing matters. I still don't understand why Mercedes hasn't just gone over the cost cap. Like, just do it and see what happens. Mm-hmm. They've already set a precedent of what's supposed to happen. And they tried to do that whole thing of like when they gave their bullshit slap on the wrist to Red Bull saying, if anyone else does this, like there'll be severe penalty level. It's like, okay, like, so now what are you saying? Whoever did it first was the one who would get away with it. It was Mercedes' fault for not doing it first.
Yeah. I think so.
Christian Horner would burn down the FIA building if Mercedes had overspent and built a car this fast and nothing happened and they only had to pay $7 million. Like, if that's the point, just pay the $7 million.
Bro, we've got that. We're good for that. What that?
Toto paid out of his pocket, crowdfunded. I don't care. Mercedes fans will give you the $7 million. Like, if it means competing.
Yeah. No, 100%. Tandy, your lips looking extra moisturized. I feel the car mix you gave me. The car mix you gave me ran out, so no, I don't actually have any left.
No!
So I was looking
I've got
at
one
you.
for you. I've got one for you.
Tandy, I guess. Do you have like a? I don't know. Do you have like a... let me ask you a question. Because a lot of people have said that if Lewis goes, they go. And obviously you can't go because I won't.
I think you've asked me this. You asked me quite a bit.
Do I?
I can't go where?
You can't leave the sport if Lewis goes because I need you. But... let's say you didn't own a podcast that talks about Formula 1.
Yeah.
And the only reason I say this is because I saw a lot of, I can't deal with this sport. The only thing that's keeping me in this sport is Lewis Hamilton. And I think events like the other day with the FIA and how they like adjudicate things and how they run things, I kind of add to that. So I guess I was going to ask, is that a factor of what adds to that? Is it just, or do we just have to do we just accept the sport for what it is, that it's a shit show, and you carry on? Or do you just, when the only thing that's kind of cool about it goes, you just fuck off with it as well. Just leave him to it, basically.
I guess this is how I always say this is how I believe the Ferrari fans must have felt. Like going from an ultimate high to being this iconic brand to kind of just being very irrelevant, and having Carlos Sainz and Carlos Sainz. Sorry, that was on my head. Having Carlos Sainz and Charles as like the main drivers now, and they're fucking it up. But it depends what sort of fan you are, I guess, because a lot of people have been pulled in by the craze of Lewis Hamilton, which is the fashion, the glamour, the what he brings as a person to the sport. And so if you feel like the sport has not kind of honoured its promise to your icon, Lewis Hamilton, then I'd understand why you'd be like, if Lewis walks, I walk. But then again, there is some of us who just take pride in just seeing these cars go round and round every Sunday, whether it be 5 a.m. in the morning or like at stupid o'clock in the evening. So I guess, so it definitely depends on what sort of fan you are. Is it disappointing times? Yes.
Yeah.
Does delusion help? Yes. But obviously questioning things that, the same rules don't apply to the same person every time, and that can be very frustrating. I don't like to think of Lewis's leave. I remember when Trayvon came on the podcast after... I won't need to repeat it. But after that happened, and Trayvon being the director he was talking about how in every film you have like examples of Rocky, like you can't always win, and then you get the scenes where the main character is going through it. I kind of remixed my own, and I was like,
I was gonna say, I remember you just like, when like Rocky goes into space and he like fights the aliens, and then he comes back and he wins the WWE championship.
I don't think I said that.
It wasn't that bad, but it was.
Guys, he's just really remixed. Like I said, rent was due. The couch was outside. And, like people were knocking on the door saying like, where's rent? I did not say anything about aliens, but I guess we are kind of in that moment for Lewis, and the expectation was that he would get better last year, and it didn't. So we're now kind of out here like, Trayvon, and is there another film? Is there a series? Is there like a long hiatus? Are we doing like a take that? We were big in the 90s, and then, we'll come back around every time there's a Queen's Jubilee or like something the BBC needs, do you know what I mean? But as I say, like, good thing I'm delusional, because I can't see, I'm blind, basically. Sign, I can't read the sign if I can't read. Do you know what I mean? The sign does not make sense if I can't read. So
see no evil, hear no evil. That is how Tandy is living right now. I understand. Speaking of evil, there is a new... Not even a new. How do I describe this right now? Okay. So, in the race, we had a situation where Lance Stroll stops on track and the FIA call a safety car. One, the car was so off track. I don't even know why there was a safety car, but God forbid it wouldn't be to help someone get closer to the front and not have to overtake all those cars. But let's not imply that. But the safety car comes out. Lewis is on an alternate strategy to everyone. He's on these hard tyres, which he was not enjoying, and he gets to come in. He gets to put on some mediums. Everyone else is on the mediums, goes on to the hards. Lewis is behind at some point he ends up behind George. I'm going to preface this.
After Max zooms past him. Boy, oh boy, do they love to emphasize. Oh my, they loved it. Like it was the most shortest little bit, but they kept repeating. Oh my God, like Sky aren't even hiding it at this point. I'm so sorry. Continue.
No,
Continue.
look, Max. I mean, look, the Red Bull with its DRS open is 17 kilometers per hour quicker than its competitors. That's like a different category of formula. Like, it is crazy. And obviously, yeah. So obviously Max gets past Lewis and he gets past everyone else on his way to second. There's a situation where George is quite close to Alonso, a couple of seconds, and then Lewis is behind George. Now, I think a lot of this is stoked. I'm going to preface this by saying a lot of this is stoked by the fact that Sky, for one reason or another, told the world that George was given team orders and didn't let Lewis through. And then, really quietly on the show after the race was done, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, George wasn't given any team orders there. And then they just carry on. But the damage had been done. The damage had been done.
That changes a lot.
No. I'm not finished yet. Can I finish? Can I finish? So, within the fan base, there's always been a section of fans who have never taken to George, and I'll read out some of the answers as to why people don't like George. And I want to again preface this by saying I respect everyone's opinion. You can have your opinion, that's fine. But I think the festering, lingering feeling that people had was prized open like Pandora's box with the belief that George disobeyed team orders. So let's just act like he did, although he didn't. Let's just act like he did. Who shall I say? I'll start with Trayvon. I'll come to you. Tandy, you said that you had been telling everyone about George because he is a snake, essentially. And I think that's one thing that people have always kind of said about him, that he puts himself first before the team. So I guess, what is it that brought you to that conclusion with the belief that George didn't follow team orders? I guess what in that character, in his character, would lead him to disobey team orders?
I don't know George. I don't know him personally, Nyasha, so I can't really talk on his character.
Oh, okay, because
I just know throughout history, every I'm talking. Every group had like somebody who was told. So when the Supremes were doing shoo wop de wop, and Diana was, and they were told Diana's doing the second bridge, they would move. Okay, we rehearsed it. Shoo wop de wop. Diana takes the second bridge.
Okay.
When the Temptations were about to go on stage and Otis had his ego, they said, ain't nobody coming to hear you, Otis. They're coming for the Temptations. And they got on with it. When Destiny's Child were told Beyonce is taking the second I'm a Survivor, and then we end on Michelle to introduce her, that's how it went every single time.
Right.
How then do we have a young George Russell being told, you need to move over for Lewis Hamilton, and he can't move? Throughout history, you've always moved. So this now makes me look at you sideways because I've been sleeping next to you. We're sharing toothbrushes. Are you putting my toothbrush? Like, now I'm looking at you. If he did, guys, this is me saying if he did, yeah? Because I can't trust Sky F1. They've told me one thing and told me the other. So I'm just saying, if he did disrespect or deny team orders, I'm now looking at him very differently. You can kill me. I'm looking at you like you can kill me. I share a bathroom with you. You might just put my toothbrush in the toilet. How do I not know it was you who ate my noodles last night? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need to start looking at this boy sideways. And do you know what? Nyasha wants to start this
I'm
whole
not
thing that,
anything.
you know, oh, but you liked him. Okay. That does not mean I will not like. We're not, as I said at the start of this, I've never met George Russell. I don't know his character. However, I called this day in 2021. And Nyasha, 177 people will back that. Nyasha tried to draw me out, you guys. Online, he said cap. He said at the start of the season, you said how much you liked George Russell. Yes, I did, until I heard that he disobeyed team orders. I said it throughout the podcast. I've been saying I'm giving him a chance. But when I first said I did not like George Russell because he might just put my toothbrush in the toilet, people called me nuts. Yeah? So I'm here on this podcast to say, I told you, law. What I told you is what I told you. That is all. I rehearsed that one in the shower.
You know,
by the way.
see, Trayvon, what she does, yeah? I'm trying to get my shot, my acting shot, and this is how she turns up. Oh my god, this is like when Nicole wouldn't let the other Pussycat Dolls sing, bro. Where's my bridge?
Stay there with your Melody Thornton ass. Like, leave. Go on, Jibs this song. Do your Let's Wait a While. But I am still Nicole.
Oh my god, unbelievable. Trayvon. I mean, there's not much more to add, but no, of course, no, of course there is. Trayvon, look, there is definitely there's a problem at Mercedes this season, right? And I guess we've spoken about the car, and maybe we could talk a bit more about how they fix it, whatever. But there's a problem with Mercedes in that Lewis isn't happy, the fans aren't happy, George is clearly not there to be a number 2 driver. He's there to be the number 1 driver. He's out for himself. I guess, do you think there is... One, I guess, what are your thoughts on George Russell? Do you like George? Do you not like George? Do you think it's a good driver pairing? But I guess, 2, are we in for trouble this season where potentially it looks like, you know, they're going to be close and George will not, I guess, easily, although I don't think this race is a good example because there was no radio chat, but I guess let's say in theory, because that's more fun if we just fabricate lies, let's say he did do that, do you think it's a comfortable situation for Mercedes to deal with, or is it going to be something like, I don't know, like the 2016 Nico versus Lewis kind of situation?
No, I think George is 100% out for George. And I think while he will sort of play nice, I definitely can see getting to a point where it could be Nico Lewis too, right? Like where he will, if he's close or ahead of Lewis in the way that he has been, in the way that he was last season, I could definitely see him not wanting to listen to team orders or not wanting to do anything to support Lewis, being that team's number 1 driver. Because I think in his mind, this guy's leaving soon. They're going to replace him with someone. And I need to establish myself as the top dog when that happens. And so even with Lewis doing all the car testing last season and taking those hits, when George was getting to reap the benefits of it and looking like he was so much faster or such or being a better driver, so to speak, we all know what happens if you put Lewis in a car like that Red Bull, right? Yeah. It's the combination of the machine and the man, right? If you put Lance Stroll or even one of these new young guys like Sargent or whoever in that Red Bull car, they're not going to know how to maximize the potential of that car right now. And that's the difference between just having it being just about the car, which is important, but it's also about the man behind the wheel. And I think George is who I liked. I was a big fan of him at Williams. Gave me the hat off his head at the Mexican Grand Prix. Always appreciate that. But I do think he is in a place where he is definitely looking to stake some claim. And it's on one hand, it's hard to fault him for it because as a competitive athlete, and having been there, of course you want to like be the top dog, even if you are even if Michael Jordan is your teammate, right?
Yeah.
Like the part of you that has gotten you where you are is because you want to be the best. And so, but in a sport like Formula One, where there's a number one and a number two, even when they try to act like it's not a thing, it's like, yeah, you got to kind of play the game. And I could see that in this situation, especially with the car not being good, it not going that way. I think if he had showed up and Mercedes was still top of the food chain and still competitive, he'd be a little more amenable to being number two because Lewis would still be winning. Lewis would still be, doing his Lewis thing, as Ariana DeBose would put it. And so I think it's a combination of the team not being good and George not having anything to lose that he can make that move. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. I'm going to read out some of the tweets. So I tweeted, what is it specifically about George that people don't like? Please note, I'm asking this politely and in the aid of putting these reasons into the podcast. I come in peace. Love and light to all Team NH. That's because someone yesterday said that I had egg on my face because I always backed George and told me to hold the L. And then someone else was like, oh, we tried to tell them, child. And I was like, guys, chill out. But Lee Tandy says, it would appear to me that he forgets he's part of a team. LH did the most to ensure the success of the team last year, and he barely acknowledged it. It's giving more Nico than Valtteri, and I hate it. I sniffed it from his comments in DTS Season 4 already. It's the George show. And I think that goes to something that you said there, Trayvon, about he is looking out for himself, right? It's a dog-eat-dog world, and, he's looking out for himself. And I think this is for a lot of people. Self-centered came up a lot. He's an extraordinarily self-centered driver who, despite what he says in interviews, has shown himself to be more concerned with his own race than what it could potentially mean in a grand scheme of things. At Mercedes, fighting for P5 isn't a fight. He doesn't realise this. I am going to come out...
This is what Tommy was talking about Team LH being slightly delusional. Guys, we don't actually know this guy. We've never met him. We can't go that deep into his character. Is he that self-centered?
Probably.
Because self-centered can still win you titles. Self-centered can still... I don't know.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Tandy.
Too deep.
Let me ask you a question. Who would you rather in the second Mercedes seat? Valtteri Bottas or George Russell?
You're just so evil. You wait for this one. You are so happy to ask me this. George Russell.
Well.
George Russell.
Why is that?
because do you know what? Albeit I'm angry at him. Oh no! Because I've just said I don't trust him. Oh no. Am I the problem?
Slightly.
Mario saying Bottas with the mullet pushes LH more than Bottas. I'm not
That's
ready
just
to answer that
Valtteri
question.
5.0, to be honest. You're not answering the question, Tandy.
I've decided I'm not answering it.
Okay,
I give you permission to ask me this at our live show.
Oh,
and
okay.
I'll give you a proper answer.
Okay, nice. She wants to do it when there's no cameras around. Trayvon, who do you want? Who do you want in the second seat at Mercedes, Bottas or Russell?
Oh man, it's hard because I've spent a lot of time with Alfa Romeo and I like Valtteri a lot.
Gotta keep them sweet because the access they gave you, I'd be like Bottas all day.
So I did like the Valtteri Lewis tandem, even though Valtteri had his moments at Mercedes. But I also, there's a version of George in my head that I like that I don't think exists. There's a version of George that the driver that he was willing to support his teammate would be a much better situation. But I don't know if that's possible. And I think Valtteri had an understanding of that dynamic when you recognize you're in the presence of greatness and how history will smile upon you when you support it and wait your turn. I don't know if George sees it that way. And so I think I'm leaning Valtteri on this. I mean, not to mention, I do have, where is it? I do have these guys on my desk right now. The dream team.
I love that.
Wow.
So
Look, I don't want to talk.
You don't want to talk? So why you talk? I don't understand. Why are you telling me that?
I don't want to answer this question yet. I will eventually. I've just got to sit and ponder on it. I've got to meditate on it.
Okay, and look, the reason I say that is because I asked this question on our Twitter, and 2,890 votes, 50-50.
You just asked it on Twitter. I didn't even notice. I've just tweeted it. My bad.
We're asking again. No, but delete it. Look, I think what I will say is this. I think Trayvon, you put it really well there. I understand the people that don't like George because I said it before. I'll say it again. A lot of Team LH are Lewis Hamilton fans and then Mercedes fans. In fact, they're not even Mercedes fans. Mercedes are there to give Lewis the car he needs to win races, to win championships. And they're failing at that. Mercedes are failing at listening to Lewis Hamilton to give him the type of car that he needs to drive in the way that he wants to go. I don't even have to talk too much. We'll talk, Tandy, me and you, because I can get at you more when Trayvon's gone. I don't want to be rude in front of guests. I'm joking. But Trayvon, quickly, did you have a star? Oh wait, hold on. Platform. Hove is going to get that demonetized so quickly. Trayvon, did you have a star of the day from the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix?
Star of the day. I did. I'm not gonna give it to anyone in the front of the race because I felt like they did what they were supposed to do. I did like the way, what was the, I want to make sure I'm thinking of the right driver. What was the order? Who finished 10th?
K-Mag finished 10th ahead of Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah, I liked the way K-Mag drove this weekend.
Nice.
I thought he put on a nice little show. And so my instinct is to say K-Mag.
Okay.
I also like the way Zhou Guan Yu drove this weekend.
Really good.
So yeah, I'm gonna give it to Zhou Guan Yu. Actually, now that I'm thinking back on it.
And sorry,
yeah, I'm gonna give it.
I'm gonna just do it. Can I get your donkey? But hold on.
Hee haw, you stupid motherfucker. You
Can I have your donkey? Can I have your donkey of the day, please?
Donkey of the day to me is it's gonna be the FIA. It's gonna give it to the FIA and let them have it. They know what they did.
You know what you did. No, I totally get it. But look,
Stupid motherfucker.
Stupid motherfucker. I can't wait till I go to New York and someone calls me that. I'm gonna be like, oh, I made it. Thank you so much, Trayvon. You've been an incredible guest. So thank you for staying longer than you needed to. We really appreciate it. Here's your cheering.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me as always.
Right, pleasure's all right.
Can't wait to meet you this year,
See you guys
Trayvon.
soon.
Oh yeah, Trayvon, we're going Austin and Vegas.
Oh, nice. Okay, I'll probably see you guys there. I mean, I don't know when I'll be back in London to have dinner at your house again, but
you're welcome round anytime, bro. Just let me know. Get the table ready. Don't worry. Don't watch that.
All right, guys.
Take care, Trayvon. Much appreciated. I'm going to. Why, hello. Welcome back to the Quickstop F1 podcast. It's just me. The reason for that being that me and Tandy recorded a lovely segment of me and her talking right after the end of our lovely chat with Trayvon. And then we went to edit everything and it's all gone. Finished. No one is going to ever see that footage ever again. So I thought instead of just cutting it at that harsh point, I thought I would come back and finish off the podcast. So what can we talk about? I say we in the plural sense or the metaphysical sense in that it's only me. But hopefully you're okay with that. And I guess what I wanted to really go over real quick. So I put out a tweet asking Team LH to, if they don't like George, to list the reasons why, right? And I think we read a couple of tweets from there, and we've received a bit of backlash from that. I mean, it's Twitter, you're going to receive backlash for absolutely anything, but I guess it does, like, I've been thinking about it since then, and I guess maybe we do have a responsibility. I think sometimes, you know, you can think that you're just part of this small community, and sometimes, you know, you are talking into an echo chamber, but then things get outside of that echo chamber, right? And I have to think, like, what would it be like if I saw a bunch of tweets of a fan base like, why don't you like Lewis Hamilton? And just everyone listing the reasons why they don't like Lewis Hamilton. And I guess, would I like that? I wouldn't. Would I think that, no, as much as they're saying that they like Lewis Hamilton and they're just trying to figure it out for their podcast, is that a responsible way for us to use the platform and use the podcast? Probably not, on reflection. So I do regret that a little bit, but I guess lessons learned. Why am I telling you this? I don't know. But I guess I'm just vocalizing the thoughts that I've had. And I guess the bigger you get and the bigger we get, I guess the more responsible we have to be with that. And I don't want to incite hate, but there's no getting away from it, guys. There's a clear division in the fan base. Now, do I share those feelings? No. A little bit. I understand them. I understand it, right? I think George is used as a tool and a prop and a stick with which to beat Lewis Hamilton with. I think George is either so self-centered that he doesn't see it and he's unaware of it, or he's fully aware of it and Machiavellian to the sense that he absolutely doesn't care. And look, we saw how Lando reacted when everyone was peppering Daniel, and they asked him, Lando, do you feel sorry for Daniel? He said no, not in the slightest. And really, why would George feel sorry for Lewis? He's trying to take his spot. He's trying to be the next up. But that doesn't mean that there's some snaky things that he does. And I guess when we say snaky, we're a team languishing as the fourth quickest car. We thought so until Ferrari showed up this weekend. But that's not what we want. We want to be fighting for championships. We want to be fighting for first. We want to be where Red Bull are, if we're going to be frank. So is fighting over the same piece of tarmac when someone's got quicker tyres than you the best way to go about it? Probably not. Do I think the team could have stepped in and said, hey, George, let him through. If he catches Alonso, great. If he doesn't, then he'll let you back past. That's a failing on the team. And I think that's what we're going to see going forward, what we have seen. I don't think the team are willing to step in and put George to one side and sun him a little bit and say, hey, these are the rules of engagement. And if someone is behind you after a safety car on quicker tyres, let's just give it a go, even if it's only for a few laps. And then if you catch him, which, you probably would have, then you catch him. But also, we don't have all the data. We don't have all the analysis that the team has. We're there in our armchairs. Some of us are watching with F1 multi-viewer. Some of us are watching with the timing screen. So, some of us have more information than others. And I say some of us, I don't. But, we're trying to make decisions for the team. And I guess where there's a lack of trust in George, there's also a lack of trust in the team. The team didn't listen to Lewis and have continued with a concept that he doesn't agree with. There's rumours that maybe George has been more accepting, and again, this Machiavellian nature. Has George encouraged the concept? Encouraged the engineers? Oh, you know what? You're not wrong. George is like your girlfriend's mates who will tell your girlfriend all the shit that you do. And he'll be like, oh, baby, it was never your fault. It was never your fault. It's all his fault. Whole time, maybe she's a witch. And that's what this car is. And maybe George isn't giving them the reels the same way Lewis Hamilton is. And he's getting favourable treatment and he's getting inside the skin, and they're not able to manage what is looking like a growing ego. But then also, look at us. We all just want the best for Lewis. And what's the best for Lewis maybe isn't the best for Mercedes. And I guess maybe we have to deal with that. These are all just the ramblings of a man who just hates the fighting. But we're all a family. And sometimes families don't get on. Sometimes families don't agree. And that's absolutely fine, man. So I respect everyone's opinion on it. And it's all love at the end of the day. It's all love. But who knows? This season's going to be a long out. I'm not going to lie to you. This season is going to be long. Because, real talk, this is going to happen again. This is going to happen again. And, boy, when it does, I will be there, no matter what, cowering from the messages that I'll probably receive. But there you go. So look, Tandy and I did Stars and Donkeys. My star of the day was Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki, I thought, drove a great weekend, putting Nick de Vries in the dirt. I'm sorry, Yuki, okay? Pit Stop Fracker guys, I'm going to call you up. I need 1,000 Yuki coins stat. I know it's going to the moon. Because he's securing his drive. The more he beats Nick de Vries, the more he's going to secure his drive. And, with that, I can't be nothing but proud of Yuki. Unfortunate yet again to get a point where he would have deserved it. So, Big up to Yuki Tsunoda. My donkey of the day was Verstappen and Jos. Max and Jos Verstappen. Guys, there's a phrase that's like, vibes can't done, which means good times, good vibes keep rolling. These men are like, bad vibes can't done. Fucking hell. Jos and Max are bad vibes cartel. That's what they are. That's their nickname from now on. That's, you know what? That's the family motif. Bad vibes cartel. Honest to God. I've never seen two people cut from the same cloth. It's not even a cloth. It's a dirty dish rag. The cloth is like them things that mechanics have in their back pocket, which they use to wipe their grubby little hands after it's been in your engine all day. And then they come out and they say, oh, I'm sorry. That's going to be the drive shaft. That's going to cost you $3,000. Yours just not even... You know what, yeah? There's a difference between not being overly happy. I don't want Yoss to be there jumping up and down like he's at an EDM concert. But at least show some appreciation for the fact that the teammate of the team of the driver that your son drive... I can't even talk. At least show some appreciation for the teammate of your son in the same team that your son drives for has brought home maximum points for the team, which means that the team are on their way to work to the Constructors' Champion success, which is great for the team. People get bonuses. You're part of a team. Just show a little bit of respect. Fundamental lack of respect that they both have. For him to stand there sullen-faced, in his mind, just like, hello, darkness, my old friend. What a lack of respect. And then it goes down to Max. Max can't even respect his team. In one sentence, in a press conference, he's talking about how the team worked so hard to bring the car to the track, and then a drive shaft fails, and he doesn't stay after qualifying. He walks out, and then he makes those comments in the press conference. And now, instead of the focus being on Checo, the focus is on Max. Entitlement, belittlement, something else-ment, bemusement. I'm bemused. I can't believe these, man. Honestly, it's ridiculous. And I just think, like, for a worldwide sport, broadcast across the world, kids looking at this, impressionable teenagers, impressionable adults, to be honest, because the way Verstappen fans act, unreal. And then for them to act like that, it's okay, like, we get it, you're the pantomime villains, but you're also on your way to being top 5 drivers of all time, Max. Let's not fuck around here. This guy's stats at the end of his career, if he chooses to go long, are going to be insane. As long as this car is good. Because he's got everything he needs. He's got a team that will bend to his will. He's got a car that is perfectly suited for him. You don't have to be like that. But also, you know, growing pains. Lewis Hamilton wasn't perfect when he was coming up. Granted. You could argue the pressure on Lewis is completely different. A black man in a white-dominated sport. The expectation on him, the pressure on him, and the growing he had to do in the public eye. And I guess there are similarities there with Max, but they're different types of pressures. There's different types of growing. It's different types of abuse that these guys face. I don't think Max could walk a day in Lewis's shoes at the same age. I think the stats bear that out. But it'd be cool to see some progression of growth in Max. But then if his dad is the worst vibes ever, just standing there like a cuckold watching his wife get screwed and not even enjoying it. Just sat there with diminishing amounts of return on what he's there to watch. I don't know. What's that do for the sport? What's that got to do for Max? And to be fair, in the interview after the press conference, no, it's not the press conference, the podium interviews, he seemed all right. And it feels like he was fine. It's like, oh, Dad got second place. His dad is like, that's not good enough. Look at the team fucked you over. This, that, and the other. And then he's gone into the press conference and he's just gone off. And it's like, Max, bro, at some point, maybe in the same way Lewis had to release himself from his father, maybe Max might have to do that to be able to grow into his own person. But who am I to say anything about Max and his life? Like Tanny said, we don't know these guys. We project our own feelings, biases, emotions, traumas, triggers onto these people. We don't know them. It makes for banging content, but we don't know these people. Verstappen fans are probably sick of us talking about their guy, man. I'd be sick of us. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop, because he just gives us so much to feed on. I don't know. I think I'm going to make a video about George and Lewis. I think that needs more detail because there's so many factors in it. I'm just going all over the place, but I just realised. Maybe I'll do that. This week, I'll film that. But look, it's not about me. It's not about Tanny. It's not about our Bruckhoff equipment. It's about you guys. So let's read some of your stars and donkeys. So many. Over 60. Oof. Moethus_Soga says, star of the day, Perez and George Russell for a brilliant drive. I didn't even know George Russell was going to be in that one. Oh, my God. Perez and George Russell for a brilliant drive. Donkey of the day, raising stewards for that call on Alonso being so late. It shouldn't have taken that long. It's just ridiculous. It should not take that long, man. But we spoke about that with Trayvon, you know. Mr. Stark at __Fundo. Star Perez or Piastri for getting into P3 as well. Well done, Oscar. Well done, Oscar. I feel like next week I want to discuss this race in a bit more detail. We didn't really get to discuss so many things because the donkey of the day from _Fundo is Norris and Ferrari. Ferrari, where are Ferrari? Maybe we need to get Vincenzo one. I think we need to get Vincenzo one. What is going on at Ferrari, man? Honestly, it's crazy out there. We've got. Oh, let me just send that to Chris. What else have we got here? We have got my own account. Mido, star of the day, Red Bull, donkey of the day, Aston Martin pit crew. I don't know, like, honest to God, yeah. The only reason Aston Martin got off is because other people had done it before and there was a precedent and then the FIA didn't follow their own precedent. That's what's annoying. I think that's what I failed to mention in the previous part of the podcast, is that Will Buxton is suggesting that we need to have set timers for the teams now so that they don't touch the cars during the 5 seconds. Guys, just don't touch the car. How easy is it to not touch something for 5 seconds? Like, do you know what I mean? Consent is king. You don't have consent to touch the car. You don't have consent to feel up on the front. You don't have consent to feel up on the back. Chill. 5 seconds. I don't understand. Man. Honestly, F1 journalists baffle me. Absolutely baffle me. Quite a lot of... I'm going to read all of the George Russell donkeys of the day because people are going in. Ikra says donkey is George. Bivash underneath says a very fast donkey nonetheless. Very true. At Meek and Nordjit sorry, Mika Nort, I think, says, topics to be discussed. Lewis getting a new teammate as soon as possible. People do not want Georgie Lucy. And I understand it. I do get it. Spuda Ranks says, star of the day, Lewis, 32 laps on mediums, Hamilton. Like, that is incredible. We forget about that. That is an incredible performance. And for him to bring it home, not lose places, still finish ahead of the Ferraris, I think that's a great performance. And finally, Dudstar, star of the day, always Lewis, donkey of the day, Ferrari, and Woody. Woody as a nickname for George Russell is incredible. So look, guys, I'm going to call it there. Remember, if you like this podcast, make sure to give us a like and a subscribe. We're the next target is 3,000 subscribers. So we're trying to get to 3,000. Once we get to 3,000, we're trying to get to 5. Once we get to 5, trying to get to 10. Once you get to 10, and that's it. It just grows and grows and grows. We took a break, but I'm starting to see the growth on the platforms, on the TikTok, on the Instagram. And, the more you guys support us, the more we can do. So thank you so much. We have a big announcement regarding the live show, which will come on the next race review pod, which will be after Australia. So make sure you tune in for that. And also remember, if you like what we do and you want to support us, we have a Patreon, $2.99 ad-free stream. And if you want some of that extra content that we do on there, there's a level for you. And also there's the Merch Masters tier, where you'll get sent a piece of merch every 3 months. But yeah, what a weird race. Weird time in the F1 fandom. But I hope sincerely that all of you are staying safe, taking care of yourselves, take care of your mental health, because this sport let me tell you now, this sport is beating my ass with concrete gloves. Honestly. So, guys, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, and remember, no matter what life throws at you, keep it on the black stuff. Until next time. Look, mate, if you've got this far, clearly you like what we do. So here's a link to subscribe to the Quickstop F1 family. Give that a click. And here's another link to some more cool on our channel. Sorry, cool stuff. And remember, no matter what happens, keep it on the black stuff. Click the stuff. Click the links. Click the links. Click the links. There. They're there.